on this as well. Tillinghast was a real good golfer. Some architects are real good golfers. Some are average golfers. When you design, do you design for the championship player, or do you design for 10, 15 handicapper? Who do you design for?
Yes, yes, and yes, yes. All the way down the line. You have to design for the scratch golfer. I'm an average golfer. You have to study, I'm not doing that myself. You have to study how people do it and how they think. And if you design strategically, you give alternate routes to the target. You don't require, one of the problems with modern architecture is it's based around looking beautiful, or resistance to scoring, or just being or basically built around a golf pro's way of playing the game, right to left, left to right, whatever he likes to do. But a strategic golf course that by definition means you can chart your way to the green on different ways, depending on where the flag is, wind, whatever's going on, or just without wind, you can still play a golf hole more than one way. The strategic school of design allows anybody to enjoy their round of golf, and it's always a challenge for the scratch golfer. And a bogey golfer, a double bogey golfer can still hit the ball around, avoid the trouble if they want, hit 3 shots to a par 4 and 2 putt for a bogey, and that's not so bad. So, and that's what's so beautiful about the strategic golf courses, the classic courses, and the brook lawns, etc. They allow you to do that.
Great. Let's open it up for some questions from the floor. I'll hand this mic to you.
Okay.
And that one goes up there.
Oh, out there it is.
Yeah.
Great.
Ron, can you comment as to your feeling as to how firm brook lawn should be in the fairways and the aprons and the greens? We're going to have a new sprinkler system, which I assume you know. So we're going to be able to control that next year. And personally, I think it's gotten too soft over the years. I know Peter doesn't want to hear that. But the run-up shot has been gone, I think, for the last 2 years. Our aprons are pretty soft. And I was wondering what you thought about that.
Yeah, in particular, I'm not going to attempt to answer particular things about the maintenance practices and that. We do believe, well, first of all, it's been a wet year. Everything's so lush out there. It's been a very wet year. In many ways, turf grass has been more beautiful this year than for many, many years. And with the exception of the extreme heat wave in August, when some guys had aerified and lost some greens, it's been a great year. But it's been a wet year, too. So you're not going to get as much run-up. We do believe, though, that promoting the ground game is really important for a course like brook lawn. That's another aspect to enabling any golfer to enjoy the round. If you're going to play 17, you don't hit it long, you can hit a low shot and run it down into that green, then you ought to have it. If you hit a long tee ball and you just fly it in with a short iron, then you can hit that shot too. But we do believe that as far as we don't have any set standards. Every site is different. The soils are different. Sometimes fairways can be enhanced in their ball rolling ability by sand top dressing. That went on the Greenbrier in West Virginia. It's very wet down the valleys. They dried things up. Some places do that. I'm not saying you should do that. That's something that should be worked through with Peter and the committee. But I believe in the ground game because it promotes golf for enjoyable golf for everybody. And whatever you can do here is a good idea. It's something you've got to, some places just can't afford to do anything like that. But I'll turn it to you to
Peter Belay, is the new irrigation system going to help with that?
Yeah, we've gone into some new design concepts, but a lot of things that membership doesn't take into account when they say it's wet. Some days you need to come out here on a rainy day and watch the greens drain, and watch where the water goes, and then think about where you hit your ball. All our greens drain from front to back, from right to left into the middle, and all the water runs into the approach. From the approach, it goes left to right, and so the middle fronts of all the greens on rainy, wet days, even if the irrigation is running, is always going to be soft. Now with new irrigation, we're going to be able to move the water further away from the greens. The concept has been to harden the place up and to dry it out. But, we get wet weather like this year, and it's almost impossible. But the concept is to put the ball on the ground and to roll it. And you guys, you know, next year you're gonna ask where the irrigation is when it's out there and it's hard and it's rolling, and everybody says, geez, we spent all this money and you're not using it.
Ron, I have a question about Parkland golf courses, which I assume Brooklawn is, and I have, as Peter knows, going back to the years when I was in charge around here, never been a fan of fescue. Have you seen the club since the fescue on the below the 12th tee and some other areas that we have, and are you happy with that? I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, I'm actually, well, I feel like I'm in trouble with you now, but.
No, not me,
okay.
Peter. Don't get in trouble here, Peter.
Oh, well, the nature of the question sounded the other way, but the,
I have no power anymore, Ron.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Leo. Anyway, Parkland Golf Course, fescue. The two don't seem to go
I'm
together.
afraid of you, so I'll just answer you straight out. I like it. Parkland and fescue does go together. You can, first of all, the Tillinghast drawing reveals a lot of trees. And as we said, you know, he did like trees. You can read it. You know, he said it. He really was a proponent using trees here and there. But the likewise on classic architect's drawings, particularly Donald Ross, you can see between the green and the tee and the fairway, you can see these little fluffy things, 3 little lines that drawn in clumps showing high grass. It's very common to, especially on holes like 12, to either put a cross bunker or high grass and mounds and things like that to prevent a top shot. In the days of unwatered fairways, top shots could just roll. You get a hole in one with a top shot. So that's why they put those there. That's why those trench-like military-looking bunkers, World War I features, went across number 2 there down to through the current short game area. That was anti-top shot bunkering. But those features are really good like that. But you can aesthetically, you've got to handle it carefully. You can't take a bunch of trees and just grow the grass up inside, around those trees. That just looks like a course that really lost its maintenance budget. So keep the fescuers out where the sun can get them, the wind can get them. They can keep them without getting too plush, but they do go together.
Art,
Properly done.
could you comment on fescue or high grass over the years? Have we?
Me?
High grass?
Well, we've had high grass come and go. Back in the 30s, it was high grass to the left of 11. And one of the great players in Connecticut then was Tony Kaczynski. And I can remember watching him, and everybody said, well, there's Tony with his big niblick. I mean, he'd get into that fescue and blast away, and he was the only one who could do it. We had fescue on the left of 17 for a while, and it got cut down. I think that was very unfair, and I'm glad it was cut down. I don't. It's a nice sight in a few places, but on the whole, I can't see that it's a proper hazard for the course.
I would like to say something else there.
You want?
Yeah, the fescue down the sides, down the sides of golf holes, relatively in play, really favors the long hitter. They can hit a ball much further in the air, get it further down the hole. They're hitting a 9-iron wedge out while other players are hitting 7s and 6. So it does favor the long golfer in that sense. If it comes into play parallel with the golf holes, we really don't like it. As far as the top shot's concerned, we do like that. But it's got to be kept out of play. And a lot of courses have brought it way in, even new courses, way in. It's become something they thought of as a signature, and then they moved them way back out again because you just have to keep it playable.
Peter, does it help with the maintenance budget?
Yes and no, because it demands a different type of maintenance. It's not maintenance free, which everybody thinks it is. We have to keep broadleaf weeds and brush and stuff out of it, and we're constantly trying to thin it out so it becomes wispy. Because the rain and just actual erosion brings stuff in. One of the comments back, my predecessor would comment about when somebody said, geez, you haven't mowed the rough recently. Well, I can remember when we only mowed it twice a year and the farmer couldn't come in on 2 of the times, and they used to mow it for hay. They used to sell the rough for hay years ago before they got into actually maintaining the rough as an actual feature here at the club. So, you know, it's perspective, and it's the nature of the game at the moment. We've done some work that just trying it out. I guess you call it tinkering. Some of it's been successful, some of it hasn't been. Right now we're into mitigation, which is creating biofilters in some of these areas, which is mandated by the wetlands, and some of it's going to look pretty striking when we finish. And I mean, we've cleared some areas up, and we're going to remove some trees, and I think you're going to like the look, even though it's difficult to play. But once it's a process, that's the problem with it. It isn't one day. It takes a number of years to make a fescue rough look right and play right and survive. They don't happen overnight. I mean, a couple clubs, Atlantic on Long Island, they've done their rough over almost seems like every year. They're ripping it out and redoing it all the time. So it's a process, and as everybody says, it's just grass, so we run a lawnmower over it and we start over.
Ron, there's talk about moving the 15th green back. I'm curious about your feelings about moving it back, number one, how far back, if you think it's a good idea, and then can you replicate the green exactly as is if you do move it?
Yeah, moving it back would be for, if it were done, it would be to create a different golf hole than you have on 10, with a different club selection, and that's important. Strategy, variety, and naturalness are the 3 elements of a good golf course, and that would create more variety in the golf course. Now with the property acquisition behind 10, you have some room, apparently, to move to lengthen 10, so that might help with that. But to create a distinctively different golf hole on 15, club choice especially, that would be the reason for doing it. We've explored it a couple of years ago, year and a half ago or so. The green, moving the green back. What did it do? The center of the green got to near the rear portion of the green, like back collar, somewhere in there, and it was about 15 yards or so longer. It was somewhere in that area. That's not the exact number, but in that region. The green can be replicated exactly as it is by surveying technology now, 3D surveying technology. If the green goes back 1 or 2 club lengths, it should not be built exactly as it is. It should be broadened in its sideways dimension, about 4 yards, but keeping the same differential from high point to low point in the green. What that'll do is create more flat area within the putting surface. The reason, which is helpful, it could use a little more of that. But the primary reason for widening the green, if it were moved back, is so that it is in a balanced shot value. You can't move it back and keep the same width of the green. You can't hit a club longer or 2 clubs longer and expect to have the same width of a target. So we think if it were done, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone by broadening it. The shot values are kept in balance, and also the green can be cupped on in a few other places if that were done, but you still have the same high and low point elevations. Was there a third part to that?
I was just going to ask you, what's your thought on it? I mean, do you think it would be a good idea to move that back?
Well, the one detriment to it is the sight line. The further back you put an object, the lower your visual angle is into it. So it would be, a little bit less of the green would be visible, just slightly. Now, not having done it scientifically, we just have to use our mind's eye. Hopefully it's trained well enough, and I think it is to say that not too much of the putting surface would be less visible than it is now. But it can be done, and the primary purpose is to create that variety within the par groups.
I have a quick question. You started off about Mr. Williams about he did this and he did several things. One quick story I'd just like to tell everybody that I don't think everybody might not know is that around 40 years ago, Artie Williams and Mr. Alfie Vincent were in a playoff at the Wingfoot Golf Club. And they couldn't finish the playoff. during the day, they had to go back the following morning. And there were several teams, and I believe for one spot, I'm not really sure about that, but Hardy got on the 10th tee of the West course at Wingfoot and made it very quickly and hold the shot. I don't think a lot of and that shot right now, Mr. Williams, is talked about to this day. And every time I happen to play there in the tournament, which I'm lucky enough to still play, it's remembered just like it was yesterday. And it was certainly the highlight shot, I think, of the Anderson Memorial Tournament at the Wingfoot Golf Club. I just think it's, a lot of people here probably don't know about that, but I do. I think everybody, you know, it's a great moment.
Bill, thank you for your kind words, but I wanted to say something about the 15th hole.
I'll let you finish.
Before I do that, I'll finish your story.
Well, I just had a question. Over the years, I've been playing Brookline also. For 20 years, I've been lucky to be a member, close to 20, and then over 30, I've been out here as a non-member, and I've seen the greens change. I think Peter and everybody else who's playing there over 50 years will say a lot of the greens have, so to speak, sunken. They've come down. Where is it on some of the holes you can name, like say 11, where you can't use it on the right side. I was wondering if would you think that lowering any of these greens is worthwhile, or just leaving them alone, or so you can use more of certain holes on different areas? You'll have more pin placements, or should the course just be left alone like it is now?
Let's finish 15 first.
Yeah, finish
and then
15.
and then we'll do.
I like those two trees too.
Well,
And I remember the tree in the back of the.
I can't resist finishing your story about the hole-in-one, because years later, 20 years later, I was in a tournament in Florida, and we played a match and came in for lunch. I didn't know the guys before then, but anyway, they were good players, and I think they probably won the match. And this conversation got around to golf and Anderson and so on, and I said to the man, my opponent, how'd you do in the Anderson? Did you qualify or what? He said, well, we came close for a number of years. We did some good rounds, but only one year we got in a playoff, and some SOB got a hole-in-one and knocked us out. My partner said, there's the SOB. Anyway, the 15th hole. Ron, you did not show in your master plan any plan for extending that green. I think there are others I've talked to that feel very strongly against moving the green back for a number of reasons. One, it's a perfect hole for the women and for most of us players. Maybe it's short, but it's a very severe green, well bunkered. Perhaps it could be cut down a little, I don't know, but it's a gem of a hole as it is. And I know that my wife, I mean, she couldn't get anywhere near the green. They can't move the tee forward very well. So I think for the women it would be a very difficult hole. So I know there's a strong feeling, which I share, against changing it.
Artie, can you say how club selection on that hole has changed over the years?
Well, for me, it's changed.
With the equipment, how has it changed?
Well, yeah, I guess the young players are playing with a wedge, probably a pitching wedge or a 9-iron at the most. I mean, I used to play I can remember usually having an 8-iron or something like that. Now I get a rescue club, but you know, it's a good hole for any player. But I know it's what he said, we do have those 2 short holes, but we've made 5 a lot longer and tougher to make a variety. But 10 is such a jewel. I mean, that green, that narrow green, you know the story, Arnold Palmer never did hit the green. And so anyway, that's my view.
If just to follow up, I have great admiration for that hole, and I would never recommend changing that green, moving it, unless it was something that, that the committee felt, and it wasn't on the master plan, you're absolutely right, that thought came along afterwards. But it would be only if the committee at hand at the time felt like that needs to be different. That's why I stated it's the only reason, different than 10 in club selection, that would be the only reason to do it. I personally don't like touching greens like this. I would rather not touch it.
Peter, Brad, and Peter, can we lengthen 10 and not risk killing people on Cornell?
Well, you got maybe 10, 15 yards you could probably go. It's just that, like I said, Arnold Palmer couldn't hit. It's 35 feet wide. I don't care what you hit. If the wind's blowing, it's 35 feet wide. It's just hard to. It's a miserable green. I mean, the stroke average in the Senior Open was the 2nd hardest hole. I mean, it's all been there. It's interesting how Bill's talking about the contour. And the first question you asked is green speed. The beauty of Brooklawn since I've been here is nobody's ever messed with the greens. We haven't had any reconstruction. We haven't had any major contour changes. The greens are pretty much have morphed through the years as you guys have played it. Sand's been kicked up on bunkers. We've done top dressing program, but no reconstruction. The greens are sound, agronomically sound greens that are survived all these years. What has it is the change of the game. And just a little historical thing, in '79 we had the Ladies Open. We had to manufacture bed knives to get the height of cut to get to a green speed of 9 for the USGA. They didn't make the equipment in '79 to get the green speed of 9. And that was the beginning of using the stimp meter. I mean, now we're into, yeah, we can cut and we can get 11, 11 and a half. 11 is our cutoff spot. When we hit 11, you can't play the place. And that's been proven at the girls' junior. So to change our contours because we need more cupping space, we need to think about, we've got a classic golf course, we want more cupping space, maybe we shouldn't be so aggressive with the green speed, and then I move the cups into the hills, and we've done that a couple times, and everybody's marveled at it. I mean, all these different pin placements, but I mean, the need for speed has killed a lot of grass, so that's all I can tell you about that.
Peter Donnelly, have you, when you were the green chair, have you looked at moving any of the greens or addressing the point that Bill brought up about the green sinking?
I play a lot of golf in a lot of different places, and this is my favorite day in and day out golf course that I've ever played. I'm not in favor of changing much of anything. We could do things like on 9 and 10, put the cart path on the other side of the fence, maybe move the tee on 10 back a few yards, but I wouldn't mess with the greens, even though you may be able to recreate them. Topography, what's the drainage going to be like? What's the construction going to be like? Is it going to be the same as what Tillinghast did? So I wouldn't want to see any wholesale changes to anything. I love this place. And it's funny, I played here before there was irrigation. We now have technology that's unbelievable, but the two great equalizers to the technology is age and watering the fairways. I can't hit the ball today with technology to where I used to hit it in the late 60s, when the ball used to run forever. So the way we've been able to maintain the course has kept it competitive all these years, and I'm not in favor of basically changing much of anything other than, minor cosmetic changes, things like that.
Brad wanted to say something.
I would have to say that really most of the changes that I'd like to have seen have been made, and moving greens are big projects, and also if you go too far back on 10, I think I would agree that the road becomes a hazard, and you don't want to ask Jim Manginis about that hole. I just wanted to say real quick, in 1997, Ernie DeLucia came to me because he knew the PGA Championship was at Winged Foot, and he said, where should I go to watch the best viewing point? And I said, the 10th hole. Well, he came back and he said, boy, that was really a great spot. He said, I spent the whole day with Art Williams.
Can I just say something about greens sinking? The greens have been stable since 1932. They have not been sinking. I think the perception that they sink, and we've had this question a number of times, the perception is that the lows might be getting lower would only be because the ball, with the high green speeds, the ball just rolls down into those. The ball makes you think, the way the ball acts, it makes it look like those things are getting deeper and deeper out there. The ball just is always in the valleys. Yes?
A few things. Along those lines, green sinking, we've definitely got a couple of low spots, particularly the 12th green, where whether it's sinking or not, it's getting more saturated over time. Have you ever worked on a project, is it impossible to alleviate? So there's a spot in the middle of that green where the ball just stops when it's wet, or even when it's not wet. It plays differently in the middle of that green. And have you ever worked on something like that? Is that